Welcome to this month's Matters.
Hi, everyone.
On this edition of Matters, we are going to take you through some kind of first of the year, but all through the year, marketing ideas, promotional ideas, how to market a new stylist, and just generally looking at the salon for all that it could be rather than just managing what is. A lot of the time in our owner CDs, we talk to you about managing what is and training the staff you have and measuring what you have and all of those types of things. And today we'd like to really focus on what could it be if we really made an attempt to live up to our full potential, if we really made every marketing effort that we could as a salon. We are primarily, as you know, a service business, even though we have the take-home side of the business, which usually promotions for that are dictated by the manufacturers. Who's really looking at marketing the service side of your business? Who's looking at marketing hairdressers when they finish your training program and go on the floor? Who's looking at keeping your name and making some noise in the community so that there's always that fresh buzz about your salon going throughout the community?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Would you like to do the marketing and services, the new to new and new to existing?
I think that's a good place to start. There's traditional thinking in marketing and there's aggressive thinking. And most businesses will look at the traditional way of marketing their business. And what that is existing products and services that you're delivering right now to existing customers or existing products and services that you're offering right now to new customers. That's pretty much all we concentrate on. Something that we really need to think about is new products and services to existing customers, something that they're not enjoying in your business right now. And new to new products and services are so wonderful that it's attracting new business to your salon. Now, if we look at this, how do we look as a salon? It's getting ready to be January 1st again, 2006. And I want you to think back to January 1st of 2005. Does your business look different? Are products and services different? Is your staff different? What's different about your business? And if you can't make a list of things that is obviously different to the customer, you're probably getting a little complacent. And in the customer's eyes, your business might become a little tired or flat. And especially in the service industry, there's a lot of ways to romance your customer. But you have to realize that they're looking for you to be on the cutting edge and always thriving to offer new things to them. And if you're not doing that, you're literally giving permission for them to go to a business that is thinking about those things.
As you were talking, I couldn't help but think of just a normal trip through a Starbucks drive-thru that I go through. And you could think Starbucks could look at their customer and say they come here for coffee. But in Starbucks history, of course, people go to Starbucks for far more than coffee because there's lots of places people get coffee for less. A McDonald's drive-thru will get you a cup of coffee for about $1. A Starbucks drive-thru will get you a cup of coffee for about $5. So just in its own right, the price for coffee is so much different. They realize that there has to be an ambiance. There has to be more to that experience at a Starbucks. But in the drive-thru, you don't really ever experience what goes on inside. What's interesting about that is that they're constantly marketing to you, whether it be at the point where you're at the drive-thru. There's always seasonal things, such as we just came through again the holiday season, and they had their peppermint lattes and their peppermint hot chocolates. They had a pumpkin spice for harvest before that. They had a special gingerbread latte. They had ginger loaf, all things that had to do with products, I'm sure, that their every day of the year customer doesn't normally buy. And that really is the point. The point is the person coming through for their vanilla latte now sees a new offering that's seasonal and decides to participate. All throughout the year, as you go up through the drive-thru, they're usually offering some kind of a baked good in a small sample, one-bite fashion. Also, they usually have some kind of promotional impulse buy, whether it be a gift card at the holidays, whether it be a travel mug, whether it be, a coffee mint, or something of that, they always have on the counter at the drive-thru. So what they're saying is, we know we have a customer that comes into our business. How can we constantly be marketing to them? How can we constantly be extending our offering so that they enjoy more of what Starbucks is?
What do you think Starbucks is known for? If you had to brand them, what is the first thing you think about when you think about Starbucks?
I think about a cool place with cool, interesting coffee stuff inside, with hip, interesting people working behind the counter that always are able to make conversation with you. And oh yeah, by the way, they make you a nice cup of coffee too.
And to me, when I think of Starbucks, I think about the scent. They've absolutely branded their business by the smell. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely.
So it's a combination of all those things.
Well, and what they would tell you Starbucks is, the founder of Starbucks says that the Starbucks in general is the third place. In other words, people have their home environment, they have their work environment, and then Starbucks is a third place that they go to regularly, where people gather. It has its own community. You can go in, set your laptop up, and work. You can have a cup of coffee and a piece of banana bread and watch people, if that's interesting to you. There's always branded and eclectic music that's playing and for sale. Mm-hmm. There's always regional fare in every single Starbucks. If you're in downtown Chicago, you're going to find a CS, a Chicago Social magazine, free, that's available to every customer, that's on a stand right by where you pick up your coffee. You're not going to find that in Indianapolis, of course, or even in the suburbs of Chicago. You won't find the Chicago Social magazine. But you will there because it's regional and it's pertinent.
So when salons listen to this, they think, well, that's just a big company. They're capable of doing all of that. We definitely in our business are able to make our salons a seasonal attraction. And I think some salons do it with their spa, pumpkin spice pedicure, but they don't carry the theme throughout the business.
Well, you know, Terry, the founder of Starbucks wrote a book, and it was called Pour Your Heart Into It. And I think that's probably the key difference when you think about Starbucks versus a one-time promotion that perhaps a salon does, is that they really make an attempt as a company to pour their heart into what they're doing. It's not just a promotion. It comes from them. It's provided through people that are passionate about what they do. And in a salon, because we don't have full-on marketing departments, there's nobody thinking right now what the perfect Valentine's Day or what the perfect Mother's Day or the perfect prom or the perfect graduation promotion is. There's nobody right now, for all intents and purposes.
Well, for those of you that we live in the moment.
Yeah, we live in the moment. And all of a sudden somebody comes in and they've got a great peppermint nail treatment, and oh yeah, let's do it. And for 2 weeks we do peppermint nail treatments. We don't plan to do peppermint nail treatments. We don't even educate the whole staff so that the staff knows what they are, how they feel, and how to recommend them or what the price is.
Right.
We do, oh, that's the nail department. I am in the professional salon industry because of people's passion, because of the passion that hairdressers feel, because of the passion that owners have when they open their business and how they participate. But you see, I still believe that in little bitty increments, people steal that passion from us. And we wind up down the road a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, just going to work and making the donuts, which to me is business without passion.
Right. So
I think that's what today's recording is really all about. It's certainly not a class on Starbucks, although I could tell you we could learn a lot from their company.
And picking up that book.
Sure. I think it's Howard Schultz is the author, the founder of Starbucks, if I'm not mistaken. Another thing about Starbucks is that, think about this from a salon standpoint. Starbucks, who's in the coffee business, who's in the beverage business, where they make it for you, in their locations, sell you professional coffee makers, espresso makers, cappuccino makers, French press coffee makers.
We need one of those, I think.
Imagine that. We're shopping as we speak. In addition, they sell all of the different beans, whether it be the coffee beans, espresso beans, ground, or just the bean itself. They sell you things to grind the beans with. So it's kind of like this whole concept that exists inside each one of those locations. Do you think they're a little bit worried that you're going to buy that professional equipment and make your coffee at home
And never return.
Yeah. It doesn't translate right into the salon because there isn't a chance in the world that a salon would ever sell, or we would never want a salon to sell clippers and professional scissors and the tools that you use that bring people back to you. However, in reality, they are sold, aren't they, over the counter in the retail market. So we still have the same challenge of making our service, making the experience of coming into our salon so inviting and so desirable that people will forego giving that service to themselves, such as hair color, doing hair color at home versus hair color in the salon. So excited to find out earlier this year that for the first time there was a decrease in market share of home hair color. When I think that there's a group of dedicated, passionate hairdressers that made an impact in the over-the-counter color market, that there's more people coming to salons to have their hair color done than buying product off the grocery store shelf and doing color in their home. Okay, so the other part about Starbucks and what they do is they realize the full concept of what they do.
They think really big.
Yeah, they think big. They know that people aren't going to, some people will, but most people won't stop there every day. Most people's every cup of coffee doesn't come from Starbucks.
Well, it's funny, even in our relationship, that's not a big draw to me, but you love it.
Oh, you know what? It's part of my community. Yeah, the people there, I know them and they know me. Yeah, absolutely. It is important. Yet, something that triggered, I remember just the other day, we had been given a bag of Starbucks coffee, a Christmas blend coffee, over the holiday. And you made a pot of coffee with it here at the house, Terry, and you and I had taken a class, and that smell of that coffee took us right back to the class that we took.
Right.
Because that was the coffee they made for the class that we were at for 7 months. And all of those things, all of those little things are branding things. Branding is what it connotes in your mind, whether it be fragrance or whether it be something you see or whether it be fabric or touch.
And that's why, how I think about it is that smell, that scent. That's why professional products are so important to go home with your customer and have that be a category you own with your guest. Because when they use that shampoo, they're going to think about your salon. Just like when you drink that cup of coffee, you think about Starbucks because that scent is branded. We can brand ourselves through the products that we represent. When they spray that hairspray, it smells like they're in the salon. When they're shampooing and conditioning or doing that home treatment, that brings them right back to the salon, and you want that to happen. That's a loyalty connection.
Okay, so back on topic of marketing the salon, and what are we thinking about for this coming year and the next 12 months? Do we have a plan? Have we put together a marketing calendar? And how many legs does your marketing calendar have?
Bring your team together. Brainstorm this. Go out to dinner, go out to lunch, and say, what kind of noise do we want to make in 2006 or years following? Using all of the community's calendars. You get it from the Chamber of Commerce. Say, you know what are the celebrations in the community this year? What are the big events? I think about where I grew up, whether it was the county fair or I think we've talked about this in other CDs, but how big football was in our community. Maybe you've got a team, a high school team that the community truly supports. Well, you need to be involved in that. We know that there's homecoming. We know there's prom. We know there's wedding season. Why not have you be the one that sponsors and features the fashion shows? Back to school is a huge time for people to have ideas of what's in, not only in clothing, but what are the hairstyles that would be great for the season? So get your team together. Call it a dream team. And what kind of noise do you want to make in 2006?
And if there's any question, Terry's given you great ideas with the Chamber of Commerce and local social clubs and events. Another thing that you can do is find out what the magazines are in the area. We happen to have here in Chicago, there's Chicago Magazine, Chicago Social, and then there's a North Shore magazine, all of which are very active in their editorial content and their promotional content. Indianapolis has Indianapolis Monthly, which is very active in their editorial and promotional content. They put out their themes a year in advance.
Yes.
They publish them in every issue. Usually toward the back of them, you can see advertising closing dates for each of those things, but it tells you the theme of the magazine. So, for example, January Indianapolis Monthly is huge in two areas. They're promoting two things in January. One is the Home Decorator Showcase and Showcase Homes, and the other is brides. Now, both of those things, could we key off of them?
Absolutely.
Absolutely we could. If it were me, would I maybe feature a display somewhere in the salon from one of the designers? Would I barter with that designer and say, do you want to have a glance at the Decorator Showcase by having one little corner or one room, one treatment room in your spa that's done by this particular designer for that month period of time, where it's her artifacts, or his artifacts, it's done to that, and you sell it special, you promote it special. You don't have to advertise in the magazine, but you can play off of what the magazine's already doing. Bridal work. This would certainly be a time, if I were in Indianapolis and Indianapolis Monthly was featuring brides, I would have to have some kind of bridal albums throughout the salon so that it would be participating in that theme. Because again, we have to think about how can we focus on the entire concept of beauty and fashion and hair care.
Now, what's difficult for a lot of owners is they might be very excited right now about this message. However, how often are we asked, how do you get your staff to support these ideas? Many of my staff just want to do their 30 hours or 25 hours and go home, and they don't want to participate in the extras.
Well, part of it is that, remember, people joined you. They wanted to be part of your business, part of the vision that you have. We tire in talking to them about the vision long before they tire in hearing about it. And so if we're not talking about it, if we're not constantly stirring the pot, involving them, talking 1 and 2 and 3 years in the future for what you see, then you go to them and say, I need you this Saturday at such and such a fashion show to help me do hair behind the scenes, it's too late. When you hire them, it's part of the job here. Every single meeting, every staff gathering, you're talking about the various events that are in the works and what you're planning for and what you're going to need and the opportunity to sign up for that, or you'll be drafted to do that. But to know that it's part of the criteria that you have to have so many days of service per year. That's just part of the job.
I think that's great. I mean, community service, you have to have those hours in at this salon. It's not negotiable. Now, I can tell you, from my own standpoint, when I was an employee watching leadership's role, when they would call a mandatory meeting and they weren't good, I didn't want to go. And so what are your meetings like? What are your messages to your staff? If those meetings are boring, pick them up a bit and have an agenda and get them involved, because there's nothing worse than sitting in front of leadership that's not prepared to excite a staff.
Well, and as you say that, I think of one of Win Claybaugh's famous programs called Have Meetings or Die.
Right.
And it's a little metaphor, but in reality, we've got to have credible, good, emotional staff meetings that rally the staff behind where it is we want to go, what it is we want to do, and how it is that we're going to do it. Then they will participate. If we're not getting the participation that we're looking for, change something. Absolutely change something. Say it louder, different, more, better, but don't just go about it the same month after month after month.
And don't ever allow one person to not be there, to say it's okay that she's not here.
Different rules for different people, you mean?
That's right. Let's talk about cause marketing a little bit.
Well, I do want to talk about that, and I want to talk about it in context too. Cause marketing is finding something that you're passionate about, that you want to contribute to, something in your community perhaps, or God forbid, perhaps you lost a loved one or a family member to breast cancer. And so whether it be the Why Me Foundation or Breast Cancer Awareness of the American Cancer Society is of particular interest or passion to you in supporting. Perhaps to lung cancer, as with my mom, and perhaps the American Cancer Society there is important. Or there may be events such as the walk that happens once a year here that we support because of the people that we've lost over the years to that. Perhaps it's an AIDS foundation and you're passionate about making a difference or contributing to that. Perhaps it's something that happens locally or regionally that calls your attention and that you want to make a contribution to, whether it be contribution of time and talent or whether it be contribution of cash. All of those things come up on our radar screen throughout the whole year, and we certainly can't do all of them. So what do you do? And then do you do it because you're passionate about it and it's the right thing, or do you do it because you can get publicity on it and it grows your business and grows your name? And it's been my experience that you do the things that you're passionate about and don't get lost in the sauce on whether it promotes your name or whether it promotes your company. If that happens,
it certainly promotes goodwill.
That's a wonderful thing. But even if there's not 1 ounce of publicity on it, what you become in doing that and the energy that your staff has as a result of it, whether it be the civic pride, and civic being your salon, the civic pride that happens from that involvement, knowing that you made a difference, is just so important.
I like what you said about time and talent, because after Katrina hit and people had relocated to our area, to some shelters, we had salons that the hairdressers went over. They said, we need time more than we need donation. And so teams of hairdressers went over, worked at the shelter, cut hair, and gave their time in that way to assist. So it doesn't always have to be monetarily.
Mm-hmm. And again, it's different things. It's taking a look at what the situation is and seeing what you're called to, seeing what you feel passionate about, and then taking action. And I remember a phone call that we had with top salons after the Katrina hurricane hit, and Sam Bricado and Win Claybaugh and Mary Rector and Paul Dykstra and Terry and I and our top salons were on this conference call. And I can remember that Win came on and he said, maybe you as a salon are thinking about making clothing donations, or you're thinking about doing cut-a-thons, or you're thinking about collecting spare change or things of that nature. He said, do it. Do it, and do it all. Take massive action on this. Don't get caught in what's the best thing to do. Think about, let's do as much as we possibly can. What he meant at that time is that it was such a grand natural catastrophe that we had no idea really how much we needed to do to make a difference down there. And so we needed to do it all. We couldn't be stuck on trying to plan the right thing. It's just get in there, get it done, raise funds in any way that you can, raise awareness in any way that you can, visit a shelter, listen to a person, hear their story, give them a smile, give them a hug. It was do something. And again, what's the takeaway from that? The takeaway from that is what you become. The takeaway from that is your staff sees that you care about something that includes them, but's also outside of them, that's bigger than the 4 walls that you work in. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that Katrina has taught me personally is Katrina isn't something that happened to those people down there. It's something that happened in the region, in the Gulf Coast region, but it happened to all of us as Americans. And because it was natural, a natural disaster and not a terrorist disaster, I think that it gives us individually an opportunity to respond. And we take that opportunity or we don't. And that happens every day. I've told Terry from the time she got into this business that you watch any disaster, anything that happens, I don't care if it's a tornado, if it's a hurricane, if it's a controversial election, if there's even the terrorist attack when that happened on 9/11.
The Challenger
disaster, the front page of a newspaper will always or almost always have a picture from a salon, somebody getting their hair done in a salon, and if there's not a picture, there'll always be a quote that came from somebody who was in a salon in a town, because that's where they go. That's where the community goes to feel and get a pulse on public reaction when a catastrophe happens. And that's an awesome responsibility to be, is at the center of a community. And that's what hairdressing salons are.
I think they forget that sometimes.
Yeah, and it's such a wonderful opportunity. I mean, you think about it. You know the restaurants that are achieving and the restaurants that are going to fail. You know the movies that are going to make it and the movies that are going to bomb before anybody else. So much of the pulse of a city happens through your doors. So now how can we take that position that we have naturally as a business, this melting pot of people, this melting pot of, whether it be ethnicity or interest or religions, all of the different things that come through the doors that you have an opportunity to witness and work on, how can we capitalize on that in order to market our business? And what I mean capitalize on it is that if you notice that you have a really strong realtor base, why not do something on behalf of realtors? Why not have a special program for realtors? If you have a great restaurant in town, why not be the salon that does the hair of the great restaurant? If you've got sports teams in town, why not be the salon that sponsors the cheerleaders or sponsors the athletes from that great sports team? It's just, if you're in the community, be in the community.
Yes, pay attention.
Somebody who's great at this, and if you haven't read his book, there's a hairdresser from Ohio. His name is John DeJulius, and he wrote a book called Secret Service. And I think more so, it's a great book on service.
But it's really about marketing.
More than anything else, it's about marketing. It's about marketing your business, marketing your services. And it's just a wealth of information. And so if you haven't picked it up, I would encourage you to pick it up. I think you can get it from TSA. You could certainly order it through Barnes & Noble or somewhere like that. But it's, again, called Secret Service. And John DeJulius is the author. Another person that comes to mind in this topic is John McCormack. He and his wife, Mary Ann, have what to us is the most successful collection of salons in America called Visible Changes. We have studied their business for years. And one of my favorite stories about John and Mary Ann was when they first started their very first location. And at that time, Mary Ann still had a salon in New York, and she was working all week in the salon in New York and then flying down on Saturday nights and training Sundays and Mondays, as I recall. And then she would fly back to the salon in New York. And so she did that for a period of time. Once they were ready to open the first salon, she then went into a full-time training mode with her staff. And again, the salons were in regional malls. That first salon was in a regional mall. And so it looked as though the salon was open for business. And as John tells the story, at least as I recall it, the salon was working. Mary Ann and her staff were doing hair. Customers were coming up to the reception desk to pay for their services. And John was sitting there, and the guest would say, "How much do I owe?" And John would say, "Nothing at all." And they'd look back and say, "Well, what do you mean, nothing? I love my hair. How much does it cost?" And he said, "Well, you may think it's the best haircut you've ever had. I think it's the best haircut you've ever had. It looks great on you. But my wife is in charge of quality here, and she is still training the staff. And until it's perfect in her eyes, we're not going to charge money for it." And so the customer would just shake their head, and they'd be thrilled, and they loved their hair, and they went out. And what do you think they did when they went out? they told everybody about that salon in the mall.
Sure.
And they're so fanatical and they're so dedicated to quality. And look at my great haircut, and isn't it incredible? And they wouldn't even take money for this because they're still training to be better. And all of a sudden, they created such a buzz. But they didn't do that to create the buzz. They did that because that's what they believed was right. And in doing what's right,
Created a
the
buzz.
buzz happened in the guest's mind.
Right.
And when they left the salon. So, I mean, I get particularly excited about that. And every time a new salon opens, I wish that a new salon had the ability to be able to be open for a week or 2 weeks in that capacity at no charge, just really honing their skills and their staff and their footprints of success and service in the business. We see restaurants do it with soft openings and family openings and vendor openings and things of that nature. And we don't seem to have that same thing happen yet in salons. But if there's anyone listening that is in the process of planning for, thinking about a new location or new salon, you might want to think about that and consider it as a great way to create a buzz in your community and just a great way to do the right thing to make sure that you're really ready to be open and charging money.
That's a perfect lead into marketing a new stylist. You have an established salon and you're bringing someone new into the mix. And she's gone through your training program. You've certified her. She's graduated to the floor. Now what? And in some salons, we have an overflow that immediately allows them to start accepting customers. But in some cases, we have to stand and wait for that person to be busy. What we would encourage is for the salon owner and the stylist to both make a mutual commitment to building that clientele quickly. And what we would encourage you to do is give 100 haircuts out free. The hairdresser would make nothing on those haircuts. The salon owner would invest the electricity, the product usage, and everything else that goes along for that haircut. And this is how it would work. Those free certificates need to be placed in the hands of the hairdresser who really wants this type of customer in her chair. Now, we wouldn't encourage them to give them to family and friends because that's not necessary. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about them going out and seeking people in the community that they would love to get their hands on and give them the opportunity to receive a free haircut. It's 100 of them. And we as an owner aren't going to pay anything on the haircut, but the hairdresser has the freedom to upsell the menu any way they like, and we'll pay commission on any of the upsells. And we'll pay commission, of course, on any of the take-home that they sell. But those first 100 haircuts will be gratis. Now, why is this important and why is this exciting? Because it jumpstarts. We all can be rooting this person on, saying, how many certificates have you given out? You number them, you track them. You have her fill out a sheet on who she gives them to so she can see what the return is like. You might give her 2 weeks to accomplish this task, but she could go to the local hospitals, the local banks. She can go to the prime businesses in the area and find people that she really wants to do this for. You have to give her dialogue, coach her, say, I'm new to the Salon ABC on the public square. I've been asked to promote myself by giving 100 free haircuts out to prominent people in the community. You're one that I've chosen, and I'd be thrilled if you gave me the opportunity to do your hair. And so, therefore, we're creating a buzz and we're getting excited about it. Is that going to take someone who's got a lot of confidence? Yes. Part of your training program is going to be able to create confidence. So when they're released to go out into the community to try to build these 100 haircuts, that they're poised and ready to do so. Sometimes they're only comfortable. A new stylist sometimes only comfortable within the 4 walls that you provide for them. But we need to have them be comfortable representing you and your salon in the whole community. And this is a great way to jumpstart it.
Well, and it's important, too, to create an atmosphere in the salon that we're all on a 365-day-a-year recruiting campaign.
Right.
We're always looking for new business. We're always looking for the right type of guest to bring in and invite into our business, whether it be through a personal invitation, whether it be through a referral, a guest that we already have that's telling another guest, you got to go there. However it happens, we need to make sure that it happens. It could happen because we've got some proprietary service that's going on in our business. That certainly happened early on with hair extensions and Japanese straightening and things of that nature, some services that were not everyday services in every salon that salons chose to do, and it invited customers in that were looking for those particular services. I think that also one of the things that came out of the John McCormack book, which is called Self-Made in America by John McCormack, was the way they taught their stylist to go out and speak to the public. Mm-hmm. And the way they did it. Now, you've got to remember they're in regional malls, so this doesn't directly apply to you, but to me, the story does for sure. Anytime during the day when a new stylist wasn't busy, they were instructed to go over and fill helium balloons. Take 10 helium balloons and go out into the mall and give them away to children. The cool thing about giving helium balloons to children is first of all, it makes them happy. Second of all, since children don't drive themselves to the mall, they're always attached to an adult. And the adult is really a person that when you fuss over someone's children, there's a warmth that occurs in the way they feel. A connection occurs with the person giving that balloon.
Sure.
So it's at that point then that the stylist is given dialogue to invite that person, the parent, into the salon that day or any day for service, for fee, not for free, but to pay for it. I'd really love the opportunity to do your hair. Please stop by the salon and see us, blah, 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 whatever their words were. But basically it was, I would love the opportunity to do your hair and to have you enjoy the salon experience here at Visible Changes. As their development went on, first they go out with 10 balloons and the goal is to come back with one guest. They have a process where they go out with 10 and then 8 and then 7 and then 5 and then 4. And ultimately, when they've graduated this procedure, is when they can go out with one balloon and bring back one guest with them. And again, the whole thing about that isn't the balloons, and it isn't really the children.
It's the confidence.
It's the confidence to walk up to people and ask for their business and ask them to come in and be serviced in the salon. And that really is a challenge, I think, for everyone listening, for the owners listening to this CD. Being honest, it's a lost art, isn't it? How many of your staff really has the confidence to walk up to someone in public, whether it be at a school meeting, whether it be while they're in line for a movie theater, whether it be waiting in line at a restaurant in town or in a bar in town or wherever it is that you may be, in the back of church on a Sunday morning, how many of your staff really has the dialogue and the confidence to invite people in for service, to invite people into the business? And that's where we've got to get, because we still are in a one-to-one business. There was a book that was popular years ago called Selling the Invisible. And in the first few pages, they talked about the salon as a business that sold the invisible. Because when people make their appointment to a salon, they've committed their dollars, they don't have anything tangible that they can hold. It's not like going in and buying a CD radio or something, and you exchange your money and you walk out with something in your hand, or buying an iPod. You walk out with something in your hand. When you make an appointment at a salon, you're buying something invisible. You're buying the promise of something. And so we've got to learn to be great at asking for that. We've got to create a dialogue. We've got to create kind of a romance around what we do. Now, are people interested in that? I believe they are. I believe that any time Terry and I are in a social setting and people find out what business we're in and what we do, they either say one of two things. They either cover their head and say, "Don't look at my hair," or they say, "Where should we go? What should I do with my hair? Who should be doing my hair, and what should I do with it?" Now, I don't think that's something that just happens to us as beauty professionals. I think it potentially happens to all beauty professionals. And so at that point is the moment of truth. How we handle that next situation. Even the person that says, "Oh God, don't look at my hair." What we say is going to determine whether they come in or whether they don't. Mm-hmm. When they say, "Where should I be going?" If we don't have the confidence to say, "You know what? I went into business to service guests like you. I'd love the opportunity to do your hair. I'd love to share with you what I see when I look at you and the statement and the impression that you make physically, and I'd love to enhance that for you and provide a great salon service.
Yeah, and you also tell them how to talk about that salon and to create the differential of factors so the customer can hear them and say, wow, I should go there.
Ultimately, we will all be paid commensurate to our ability to talk about beauty. We'll all be paid or not paid based on our ability to talk and involve people and invite people in to experience the world of beauty. Okay, let's talk a little bit about promotions. And I'll bet in that second that I paused, you all thought about product promotions. And I hope you did, because I got you. What I want you to think about is, I want you to think about promotion in general. Yes, there are product promotions, and as we talked earlier, those are usually dictated by and planned and prepared for by the manufacturer and distributor, and they're just inserted into the salon. Are there things you can do to enhance it? Absolutely. But what about service promotions? What about promoting staff or promoting hair color, promoting a hair color, promoting divisions within the company, promoting spa services, massage and facials and gifts of beauty, days of beauty, all of those types of things? How do we really promote that? And how do we draw attention to it throughout? I think that we first of all have to have a commitment to a consistency of promotion. Everything that you do isn't going to work. If you're promoting enough, you're going to fail at some of your promotions. If you never fail at a promotion, we're probably not doing enough. Give
an example of that, honey.
Oh, gosh. I can think of salons that way back wanted to have evenings of instruction.
Right.
And by gosh, every Thursday or every Wednesday evening, we were going to have people sign up, send out invitations to our best customers. They were going to come in for an evening of instruction, bring their blow dryers, bring their curling irons, their flat irons, bring the products that they use from home, and we were going to play beauty shop and do hair and teach them. And within that premise, we were going to be able to sell them products that we have to replace some of the products that they were using, but mostly just see how they do their hair. And it's a great idea.
Yes,
Still
it
a
is.
great idea today. But you know what? It's not being done in enough salons because it was a difficult thing to follow through. Those Wednesdays, even a Wednesday once a month, comes around so fast that if we're not constantly planning for it, it comes and we've got 2 or 3 people signed up, and then you've got staff saying, do we really have to stay? It fizzles out because it just didn't have enough interest, enough legs to make it happen.
I think about going to Mandalay Bay and going to the spa, and I was looking at their menu, and nothing really jumped out at me. And this wasn't an inexpensive service. And she said, can I answer some questions for you? You look like you're struggling. And I said, well, I'm not finding one menu item that's really going to accomplish what I want. She goes, well, then let's make up one. You tell me what you want to have done. I said, well, I'd really like a half hour on my feet and hands and a half hour on my back. She said, good. Let's call that this, and this will be your price. How does that work for you? It was wonderful. So can we personalize things? Are some of the menus too complicated for the customer to embrace them? Sure they are at times. And plus, if they're too wordy, no one wants to read. They just want to get what they want. When you look at a promotional calendar, try to say, how many categories can we get the customer to enjoy that they're currently not enjoying now? That's key. Because primarily, we're still, in a lot of salons, the hairdresser is still carrying the weight of the traffic. Now, I can tell you, if the hairdresser is responsible for most of the traffic, it's their job, since they have a captive audience, to fill the other divisions of the salon. So therefore, create promotions that will allow that to happen with ease. Try to feature another category. Don't discount something that's going well for you already that you fill automatically. Like if haircutting color is 80% of your business, don't do a promotion on haircutting and color. Do it on other divisions of your company.
When I think back, something that I remember from John DeJulius's book, where he talked about promoting what's available today, always promoting what's available today. And they had a simple, artsy not a dry erase board, but one of those boards that has the almost fluorescent type writing on it. And they would post appointments available today. Certainly not all of them, but you would see, so maybe somebody's coming in for a haircut appointment and they see there's a pedicure available at 3. Or they see that there's a facial available at 1:30.
I would present it to them. If a guest checked in, hello, Mrs. Jones, please look at the other appointments that are available today and let us know if it's of any interest to you. We'd love to facilitate that for you.
Well, and Terry, we've got a salon that's doing that with their reminder call. Reminder calls now, as you may know, have been moved from 24 hours in advance to 48 hours in advance.
Right.
So that there's enough time to make a change should someone want to or need to. But also they're saying, we're confirming your appointment on Thursday at 3 o'clock, and adjacent to your appointment, we also have a manicure available should that interest you. Please call back at such and such a number, blah, blah, blah. And in other words, we're a business that's always promoting. Promotion isn't this thing that's like a 500-pound snowball that we're pushing uphill.
Right.
We're going to constantly be promoting. Everybody on staff is going to be about building new business.
And add-ons.
And add-on services, absolutely.
Right.
So how do we talk about manicure, pedicure? How do we talk about facials? How do we talk about gift cards? How do we talk about take-home and the promotions that we have in take-home?
And we have to be able to be willing to be uncomfortable with our words. Because obviously, if we're 80% waxing and 80% haircuts, we don't need any help there. We're comfortable with that. Mm-hmm. But we're not comfortable talking about the other things. And your staff has to realize the more services they're locked into our business, the greater chance we have of keeping them as a guest in our salon. We can't afford for them to go somewhere else to get their nails done or somewhere else to have their eyebrows shaped. We have to have them here because someone else could steal their haircutting services away just as easily.
Well, and Terry, what I think about is what are we wearing also? In other words, if we're in the middle of a color promotion, does every staff member in our business have color in their hair? Are we wearing color? Is it obvious that we're wearing color, or is that just how great hairdressers always look? Do we have a little recipe card that's at each station that says Mary's hair has this color technique utilizing this hair color? Please inquire with Mary how you could have a similar or a look that exists anywhere here in the salon. See, there's just ways, if we're drinking up beauty, it's going to come out. We can share it with our guests and our staff.
Well, think about Robert Cromines. The number one way he said he built his business and differentiated the experience was the wash house. Mm-hmm. And he also took that another step by creating a whole menu just for the wash house. It's no longer just a quick shampoo. He realized this is the customer's favorite part. I'm going to run with it. Not only am I going to make it the best shampoo they've ever had, but I'm going to give them options of a shampoo. And I'm going to name them and make it very, very fun and interesting. No other salon can compete with that.
That's true. It's kind of like the W Hotel and their whatever, whenever line.
Yes, when they answer the phone, you phone down, they don't sound like, first of all, that you're interrupting them checking in another guest. They say whatever, whenever, meaning they will do.
Actually, it's a button on the hotel. They don't have all these different buttons for room service or for dry cleaning or any of that, valet parking. It's a whatever, whenever button. And you press that button to connect, whether you want a wake-up call, whether you want restaurant reservations, whatever it is you want, whenever you want it. And you hit that button, and the person that answers says, "Good evening, Mr. Cowan. What can we do to enhance your stay at the W Hotel?" What can we do to enhance your stay at the W Hotel?
Isn't that marvelous?
Is that a place
dialogue?
you want to go?
Oh, fabulous.
Not once. It's not just today because I just came out of class.
I think that's how you should answer the phone when I call you.
Oh, I do?
Yes.
Well, you know that.
What can I do to enhance your day in this
Your day.
marriage today? Yes.
Well, and you haven't noticed? Anyway, I think that it's that kind of fun. That same hotel, before they bring you the dessert menu, they bring you a little kind of sundae cup that has a mound of cotton candy on top of it. Everybody likes to pick at a little bit of cotton candy, number one. Hairdressers in that environment want to do hair in the cotton candy, so it looks like somebody when they're done. And it's real easy to make it look like Robert's hair when we're done. Sorry, Robert. We love you. But no, it's a restaurant and they made it fun. It's a salon, it's a spa. We've got to make it fun. It's got to be in our dialogue. It's got to be in the way we think and the things that we do, and that everybody's committed to it. If we're going to sell hair color, we have to wear hair color. If we're going to sell bridal, we've got to make sure that it's obvious that we can do that. If it were me, I would have mannequins on tripods set up with great bridal hair and accessories in that hair. We've got to find ways to have mini facials and hand facials and promote manicures and pedicures. So
well, the staff better have nice nails, and the staff better have nice skin, and the staff better have great hands. So we have to be living what we represent. Talk about the promotional calendar again.
Well, the promotional calendar is something that you need to think about again long term. It should be always at least a year out. And it should have as many different legs to it as your salon has things to promote. For example, where do you want to plan your editorial hair throughout the 12 months? Do we want to have a spring and a fall release that we want to have a photo shoot for, that we want to have our own work hanging up? Do I want to tap into other people's photo shoots, manufacturer
releases?
Yes. I mean, there's different ways of doing that, but you've got a plan for the editorial look in print and in your salon throughout the 12 months. What is it you want it to say about you? What is it you want to say about your service? Is it tied into, if it was bridal that I was promoting in the salon, do I have bridal editorial pieces
and I think
that
that's
are available?
a great example. So, for example, let's say Paul Mitchell releases a new collection of cutting and grooming as well as updos. You schedule your educational classes around the release of these. You then release this collection to the community using all of the print material and the photo collection that's already done. Now you're educated on it. You're prepared and ready to release that to your community. You put that in the press. It's powerful. And because the manufacturer that you represent did it, it's not as costly for you. Mm-hmm. And you're able to do all the looks that are there in print.
So you've got an editorial piece to your promotional calendar. Now you've got as Terry just mentioned, you've got a training piece. Who am I going to involve in this promotion, and what do they need to know, and who do I need to have teach them that? In some cases it may be a staff member, in some cases it may be a manufacturer, in some cases it may be a distributor that's involved in teaching them what they need to know to have this promotion be possible. Which departments of the salon need to be involved? Is this a hair only? Is this a spa only? When is it going to be communicated to the staff internally? If it's a special service, when is it going to be input into the computer so it's available to actually schedule appointments for that? And when will the front desk be trained in their dialogue to be able to facilitate that particular promotion, that particular new service, and its pricing structure? So there's a lot of different things. Are there any point of purchase materials that need to be put up? In other words, if we're having a great Lushly hand and foot treatment that we're featuring for Valentine's Day, a his and hers, do we need to have point of purchase on the stylist stations and on the reception desk and in the spa? What pieces need to be put in place in order to make this happen?
It should be obvious what you're featuring.
Absolutely. And then do we carry it through to retail? If we're going to be doing a service promotion, what's the retail piece of that, or the take-home piece for our guest? And what products are involved in that? When does the order need to be placed? Where will it be displayed? What additional marketing pieces or POP pieces will be there as well? Are there any props that are necessary? Do I need to involve anyone outside the salon in order to do that?
This is a good point. That's why you have to be current. Don't carry old promotions, because it looks like you are not committed to your promotional calendar.
Here's the thing. If you are dedicated to bringing a promotion on at a particular point in time, let's say everything's perfect and promotions start at the first of the month and they end at the last day of the month. You've got to be dedicated to that it's on the shelf, ready to go, staff trained, point of purchase material in place, everything's good to go on the first of the month, and it absolutely, after the last day of the month, comes off because we're putting the new month up.
Right.
If you're dedicated to doing that, you're also training your guest that they need to be in your business once a month.
Right.
Because if they're not, if they miss a month, they've missed whatever your promotion is. And they enjoy your products, they enjoy your displays, they enjoy the things that you do in the salon, and they're going to miss it if they're not there.
We hope you found this informative.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us.
See you next month. All right, here's an afterthought. You might be a little overwhelmed thinking, where do I start on all of this? Well, you have to use all of your resources. We would probably recommend that you start with a promotional calendar and pull the resources that you've got, being the manufacturers that you represent, the distributor that services you, the salon consultant that's visiting your salon. Your staff has to be a huge resource during this. I mentioned earlier to bring a dream team together to help you do this, help you facilitate the ongoing message of what you want your salon to be in front of that customer every month of the year. When you think about your promotions, make sure you're absolutely committed to the starting and the ending time of them. Make that a non-negotiable for you. And prior to, maybe a week before that month begins, you bring your staff together, you print out all the promotions that you're featuring, make sure that they all are responsible for memorizing that and upselling it to the customer, whether they're on the phone with them or talking to them in their chair or service station. It's very, very necessary. Steve, did you want to add anything on this?
I just think it's so fair to have this sound like it's a lot. And it is sometimes unbelievable to try and stay current with everything that there is to do.
Especially if you're an active owner behind the chair.
Yeah, as an active owner. And to put on that different hat. And to say, okay, it's Thursday night, it's marketing night, I'm going to put on my marketing hat. Oh, sure, that'll get done. But the reality of it is that if you've got a business that has so much stuff that you're working on and that you're creating, it's so much better at keeping the business alive and moving forward than it is to let the business get boring. And believe it or not, that's what a lot of businesses face. They get sick of it. They get sick of doing what they do every day. They're sick of themselves. And all of a sudden, before you know it, they're boring as a business. And then their people get bored, and that's when people start to look around. I'm kind of glad you got this message early on in the year, because early on in the year is where people look around and say, am I in the right place? That's where staff looks around and says, am I in the right place? And a business that's thriving, a business that cares about their staff and that cares about promotion and that's out after it, that's all about the business of beauty,
well, and
is
you're also,
always going to be a business that attracts people.
Sure, and you're also giving your staff something to talk about. Because how often are we witnessing those inappropriate conversations because they don't have to talk business because they're not trained to?
Sure, it's a good point. The less they have to talk about, the more they're going to wing it. And when they wing it, it's going to sound a lot more like, dude, sweet, than it is about beauty.
Yes.
So enjoy. We'll see you in the next issue.
Go tackle your year.